March 26. 1546. Thomas Eliot, an eminent English scholar, died. He published the first Latin and English dictionary in that country. 1602. Bartholomew Gosnold sailed from England in a shallop with 32 persons to effect a colony in the northern part of Virginia. He was the first Englishman who came in a direct course to this part of America, instead of making the circuit by the Canaries and the West Indies. After a passage of 7 weeks they made land in 43 degrees. 1630. Charles I renewed the patent granted by his father to Ben Jonson, as poet laureate. The pension was augmented from 100 marks to £100, with the grace cup of 1 tierce of Canary Spanish wine, to be delivered annually from the royal cellars at Whitehall. 1644. The English Parliament made an ordinance to enjoin every family 1 meal per week, and to contribute the value thereof to the kingdom. 1649. John Winthrop, first governor of Massachusetts colony, died at Boston, aged 63. He came out to America 1630, as governor of the colony, to which he continued, to be re-elected, with a few years' intermission, till his death. He kept an accurate journal of the events of the early colony from its foundation to the time of his death, 2 volumes of which were published at Hartford 1790, and the third, which had been a long time lost, appeared in 1826. 1662. Brian Duppa, an English bishop, died. He was distinguished for his learning and virtues, and the firmness of his adherence to the cause of the Stuarts during their misfortunes. 1676. Marlborough, Massachusetts, destroyed by the Indians. So completely did the enemy finish their horrid purposes here, that the inhabitants deserted their dwellings and sought shelter elsewhere. On the following evening a party of about 40 men went out in search of the Indians, and coming upon them towards morning, lying around their fires to the number of about 300, fired in upon them. Although it was so dark at a short distance from the fires that an Indian could not be discerned from a better man, yet they discharged several volleys upon them, and came off without the loss of one of the band. The few houses which escaped the brand on this occasion were razed by the enemy soon after. 1688. Winston Churchill, an English historian, died, better known as the father of the great Duke of Marlborough. 1699. After an extraordinary storm, says Evelyn, there came up the Thames a whale which was 56 feet long. Such and a larger of the spout kind, was killed there 40 years ago. That year died Cromwell. The reverend antiquary probably considered this a prodigious omen of the usurper's dissolution. 1702. William Corden died, a collector of whatever was curious and important in medallic and antiquarian history. He left 38 volumes, folio, and 8 quarto, which, together with his collection, were purchased for the British Museum at £20,000, scarcely the value of the coins and precious stones. 1707. The regalia of Scotland deposited in an oaken chest, at the Edinburgh Castle. 1711. Engagement between the British ship Lion, 60 guns, Captain Walpole, and 4 French ships, in which the latter were beaten off. Walpole had his right arm shot off, and it may be mentioned that Lord Nelson had the same sword in his hand when his right arm was shot off. 1797. 1719. A Spanish fleet under the Duke of Ormond, intended for the invasion of England in favor of the Pretender, was dispersed by a storm. 1726. John Vanbrugh, an English dramatist and architect, died. He was knighted by Queen Anne, and held several lucrative offices. But a want of economy in the management of his income kept him in indigence, and his dramas were produced in rapid succession to retrieve his credit. Few of his pieces, although popular at the time, still keep the stage. 1729. Robert Moss, a popular London preacher, died. His sermons have been published in 8 volumes, and he is the author of some poems and small tracts. 1730. The Landgrave of Hesse-Kassel, father of the King of Sweden, died. The Swedish monarch was declared successor. 1756. Gilbert West, an English poet, died. He was a man of polished manners and great erudition. 1772. Charles Dino Duclos, historiographer of France, died. He was also a distinguished member of the French Academy, and was engaged in the dictionary and history of the society. 1784. Thomas Bond, a distinguished American physician, died. After spending considerable time in preparatory study at Paris, he returned and commenced practice in Philadelphia, where he acquired a great reputation in his profession, and as a man of letters. 1794. Congress passed an embargo law. 1799. Battle of Verona, between the French and Austrians. The battle continued from morning till night, and the loss on both sides was so great, that each army found it necessary to retreat. 1806. Broome County, in New York, erected. 1812. Earthquake in Venezuela, South America. The town of St. Philip, with a population of 1,200 souls, was entirely swallowed up, and it is supposed that about 20,000 persons perished in the whole province. Caracas, with a population of 40,000, was destroyed, and from 10,000 to 40,000 persons perished. Authorities differ. 1813. The American batteries at Black Rock opened their fire on the British, and silenced their lower battery. 1814. Jen Hull, tried at Albany by court-martial for surrendering Detroit, was found guilty and sentenced to be shot. His punishment was remitted by the President. 1814. Battle of Saint-Dizier in France, in which Bonaparte defeated Wenzinggerode. 1814. Engagement in the Bay of La Hogue, between the British ship Hébros and French frigate L'Étoile. French loss, 40 killed, 71 wounded. British 13 killed, 25 wounded. 1832. The Asiatic cholera appeared in Paris. During its prevalence 1 in 33 of the population died. In the whole of France 229,534 persons were attacked, and 94,665 died. 1838. William H. Ashley died near Boonville, Missouri. He was the first lieutenant governor of that state, and a man highly respected for his great enterprise, talents, integrity and principle. He emigrated from Virginia at the age of 30, and settled near the lead mines. In 1822 he projected the scheme of uniting the Indian trade of the Rocky Mountains with the hunting and trapping business, and having enlisted about 300 hardy men, they, after various successes and reverses, realized handsome fortunes. 1839. Power Trench, Archbishop of Chatham and Primate of Connaught, in Ireland, died. He was distinguished for his talents, eloquence and learning, and greatly revered for his benevolence and piety. 1850. Samuel T. Armstrong, a distinguished American bookseller, died in Boston. 1852. while the engineer Mayfair and his assistants were engaged in submarine blastings at Hellgate, New York Harbor. By accident a charge exploded and instantly killed Captain Southard and 2 others. Mayfair and others were raised several feet, and fell into the water, but were rescued with few injuries. 1854. Jonathan Harrington died, aged 85, a fifer for the minute men who assembled on Lexington Green on the morning of the 19th of April, 1775, and the last survivor of the gallant band who were engaged in that first conflict of the American Revolution.